What's poppin', guys? Thank you guys so much for liking and sharing my video. Thank you, massive thank yous. If you're new to my channel, please let me know in the comment so I can actually shout you out. I appreciate that, and let me know where you're watching from as well. I'm also on TikTok and Instagram. Please, handles are below there. Go follow. On today's topic, communication. I'll dive right into it. Communication, from the Latin words communis and communicare. Communis, the noun, simply meaning common or sharing. Communicare, the verb, simply means make something common. Whatever is common, you will know that it's often easy, accessible, and simple. Right? And from those two came communication, which is an exchange of information which we do on a daily basis with words, verbal form, or via other means, non-verbal forms, using various mediums. By non-verbal form, your appearance, your body language, your actions, a lot of things. Give it thought. And in my own words, I put it this way. I often put it this way when I have conversations regarding communication with friends. I say that communication, the act of communication, is an art with depth to its core, with substance to its core, with essence, with meaning to its core, with depth to its core. But we often overlook that. There isn't any moment of our lives that we are not communicating something. Either we are spending words or receiving them. Communication is a currency that requires mastery. It's an art that requires a level of craftsmanship. But we take it for granted. And as a result, majority of us suffer that throughout our lives. We barely even allow ourselves the privilege of communicating and interacting with self, aka self-analysis, self-evaluation, reflection, things like that. Communicating with self, we deprive ourselves of that privilege. And then go on to struggle with communicating with everything else around us. Be it in our workplaces, with family, with our loved ones, our children, our friends, and all sorts of networks around us. It's a very key element of our life, a key skill that every man should possess, every human being. As a matter of truth, every human being ought to possess good communication skills. And by communication, it doesn't mean that everybody that knows how to wordplay, speak or spew words or vomit things out of their mouth knows how to communicate. That is why it's called effective communication, good communication, communicating well. Being able to vomit words does not make you a good communicator. What am I driving at? Remember, once you open your mouth, you announce to the world who you are. And to be effective at communication, one must realize that we are different in the ways that we perceive things, that we interpret things, that we digest things, that we understand things. And with that knowledge, with that understanding, we can then use that as a guide in our communication with others. Anthony Robbins. So, how can we communicate more effectively? Simple. Start with diagnosing yourself, questioning yourself, analyzing yourself. Reflect. How have you been communicating? Do you consider yourself a good communicator? If you are good, there's room for improvement. If you are bad, you can start improving. If you are whatever you are, wherever you are, there's always opportunity and room for growth. You can start your journey now. So many of us have problems in our relationships with people around us, with our spouses or our children or friends or colleagues, due to terrible, poor communication skills. We even demand communication skills. We require it from others, but we are so bad at it. Why? We barely pay attention to self, let alone others. From paying attention to self, you're able to understand self, understand your surrounding, the people near you. So when you are then communicating with them, you would know how best to reach them. Because it's a message. You want to send a message and ensure that that message reaches the right person. When it reaches them, they are able to understand it. Once they understand it, you want feedback, response. So, I broke it down in this way. To communicate well, to communicate effectively, here are the key things you must use in your journey. First part, think about your message. Think of what you want to convey, what you want to send, what you want the person whom you're sending a message to receive. When you thought about it, consider the person you are sending it to, what you know about them, what they are like, how they interpret things, how they perceive things. Are they people that prefer people to vocalize things to them, or do they prefer you sending them messages directly or indirectly? What do they prefer? Are they somebody who would prefer a phone call as opposed to you typing and sending them a text? What are they like? You have to factor that into that thought about the message. Think about the message. Consider the person you're sending it to. And once you've done that, construct the message in a very simple, understandable way. Once you have constructed it, send it appropriately. Send it well. How do you send it? Consider that. When you're sending it, for example, it could be your tone. That's a way of sending. If you are verbally talking to somebody, you wish to convey or communicate a message to them verbally, your way of sending it is verbal. You're using the verbal approach. So you must consider tone. You must consider tone. If you're a man, you mustn't adopt a feminine tone. If you're a female, you mustn't adopt a masculine tone. When you're talking to opposite sexes, majority of the time, it impacts the response that you get. But we fail to identify these things because we get so triggered by what we've heard. We absolve ourselves and sanctify ourselves and remove us from any fault whatsoever regarding how we have sent the message, and point the gun at the person that has received and responded. You have to consider tone. Tone. Because when you are also sending a message, you ought to be mindful of the fact that you are selling yourself. You are portraying an image of yourself. You are projecting yourself to the next person. Your reputation is on the line. You have to be mindful of those things. If you are communicating with somebody in person, then you ought to know appearance plays a part. How you arrive is the price you are, they say. The way you speak, how you construct your message. Do you sound lucid or confused? These things matter. Once you open your mouth, you announce to the world who you are. You have to give these things thought. So once you've given it thought, considered the person you're sending it to, you've made it simple, then send it well. The right tone, use the right medium, the right way to send that message so that it is welcomed, not rejected, right? Once you have done those, the last part that everybody misses, this, we fail to use it. You listen. You listen to your receiver to get their response. Once they send that response, don't listen to respond. Listen to understand. There's a difference. Listen to understand. When you have understood, take that away and decide the appropriate course of action to follow up with, if it requires one. But if not, remember one thing. Always reason before you spend your words and action, because how you arrive is the price you are. Image and reputation are important and are always on the line when you are communicating. Remember that you are your responsibility. And I know that it's easy to sit here and tell you, be good at communication, be good at communication. I know that there are multiple factors that affect men, that impacts men's communication skills. Some childhood factors, some historical factors, some traditional and environmental factors, some fear of censorship and all of that. It all affects us. And the burden and responsibility of leadership in our circles, wherever we find ourselves, in our homes, in our families, with our spouse, with our children, with friends, all of those things. I know majority of them impact how we develop our communication skills, because we often, for fear of shame, embarrassment, and I don't know how to put this, but inadequacy. But it ought not to be so. It doesn't have to be that. It's not complicated. We pay dearly for it throughout our lives. We have to think about these things. Communicate and interact with self. What you have is what you give. If you can't interact and pay mind to your own self, if you can't give ear, lend your ear to yourself, you cannot lend it to anyone else or anything else. You have to look at it that way. What you have is what you project out. So most of us are too scared to even listen to ourselves. And as such, we vomit words. We think we are saying things, but we're just scattering things all over the place. And with that also comes another thing that I will address in the second part of this video, which is understanding the power of your words and using them effectively. Because words are powerful vessels that convey and that can carry things. Words can bring to life but yet destroy and be destructive. Words are capable of building and being destructive. Words can birth life and can also tear down and cause death. Words are powerful, but how you wield your tongue, which is your weapon to fire those words, determines whether your words become finite or infinite, limited or limitless. But that's for another video. Gentlemen, we have to take communication seriously. Communicate. We suffer daily in silence because of poor communication skills. We suffer and struggle because many of us didn't learn and understood early enough the need to learn how to communicate. Learn how to communicate our concerns, our worries, our problems, our difficulties, not to everybody, but knowing who to communicate with. Where, when, how. It's very, very important. So, with all that being said, remember, once you open your mouth, you announce to the world who you are. And how you arrive is the price you are. Those shouldn't be hindrances. But just bear that in mind when communicating, so that you communicate well, effectively. Gentlemen, until the second part of this video, Thank you so much for watching and subscribing. Stay rare and peace.